Hey everybody, my name is Landon Mascareñaz and I'm the Vice President for Community Partnership at the Colorado Education Initiative. We had the incredible pleasure and opportunity to work with Seek Common Ground on their MAA Action Accelerator over the past 4 or 5 months here. And it's been an incredible project to think and understand and reimagine what accountability and assessment look like here in Colorado. And a part of that work was doing some understanding, landscape analysis, and iteration, which finally led us to the ability to create a really exciting new project, website, and venture called Future Ready Families, a new site powered by CEI that is going to allow us to reach out to parents and families all over the state of Colorado to have different types of conversations about the partnership they should be having with their school systems, and how to have provocative partnership conversations with their teachers. The hope we have is through building this sort of trust and connection with families across the state that we'll be able to have deeper conversations with them about other topics such as assessment and accountability, topics that we know are going to matter quite a bit and have a great deal of impact in the Colorado landscape over the next couple years. In Future Ready Families, we began with the idea, the concept, the notion that if we were to change our traditional orientation at the Colorado Education Initiative, which is a district-facing orientation, that's our core customer, and begin to speak directly to families, that might actually allow us to achieve our goals for supporting a healthy and robust Colorado education ecosystem. And that's a different shift for us. That's a new way of thinking. And in some ways, it feels at tension with our work with districts, right? If we're going to be talking directly to districts' families, sometimes districts might be really threatened by that. They might actually think that's a really big challenge to their power and authority in their community. What we had to come to the conclusion is that it was actually more important than ever before for us to do this, because if we weren't going to speak directly to families, the reality is that someone will. And we needed a trusted, authentic voice to reach out directly to families for the purposes of having conversations about how to have a partnership conversation, to talk about homework, to talk about assessment, to talk about grading, these things that actually really no one is speaking to our Colorado families about. And then oftentimes we trust school systems to do. And then the reality is that we have to build independent and alternative infrastructure to be able to do that. And a part of the other big shift that we had was initially we were thinking of just making this a kind of another initiative with another brand. But really we began to look around the landscape, did some research, looked at that, in fact, many of the organizations in Colorado were targeting low-income families across the state, families and communities of color. And we said we want to actually complement that work, not actually try to carve out another niche within it. So who's speaking to middle-class families across Colorado, families who have concerns about the system, questions about the system, but wouldn't be targeted by traditional philanthropic or mobilization efforts from organizing and outreach efforts. So that's where the idea of leveraging Rebecca's expertise and experience came to bear. Her voice, her trusted credibility, her personality, married that with the idea of a targeted focus on the middle-class communities for the express purpose of having a whole different type of dialogue with those families. It's an important question at CEI. For when we released the Future Ready Families work, there were some folks at CEI that go, "Oh, how is this our work?" But after a lot of conversation, it became clear that this had to be our work. This is collectively our work. If we care about family and community partnership across the state of Colorado, then we have to also care about the opportunity to reinforce it with direct messages to families so that we're not just reinforcing the traditional power structure where the district is the only vehicle to communicate and understand the contours of partnership, that parents have to be empowered and have a power dynamic that allows them to advocate and push themselves as well. That's a big shift. That's a big shift for us. Over the course of the same timeline that we were involved with Seek Common Ground on the MAA project, we also began to rethink our strategic plan for the coming two years and set 2023 targets and goals. And one of those goals is the idea of Colorado school communities embrace a wider vision of success. And what that means is that we are now actually having a conversation with communities and families in a fundamentally different way about what it means. And so we have, at CEI, we're working with the State Department of Education to manage their pilot program for the waivers that are innovating around accountability. We are helping to steward an emergent coalition that is looking at accountability redesign. And our hope is that the Future Ready Families component that we put into place through the help of Seek Common Ground will allow those efforts to be able to be complemented from a direct conversation with families at the same time. One thing that's really exciting about working with Seek Common Ground is the national network that you get to be a part of that's focused on a particular content area or subject matter. When you're thinking about measures of assessment accountability, when you're thinking about reimagining what that means for families and communities, you're with a group of national leaders and community leaders who are thinking about what that means in their particular context. And you're having a conversation with them at the same time about what that means. And it's informing your discussions, and it's also provoking their thoughts. That's the power of the Seek Common Ground network. That's the power of the Seek Common Ground Action Accelerator. And the other thing that is really important is that the thought partnership, leadership, and discussion that you're going to get from the staff members at Seek Common Ground. They're going to allow you a chance to pressure test your ideas and push on them and move on them in different ways. And that is a invaluable component of the process.